Hey, also in this episode, I'm taking a slight break from the usual really intense shit that we're talking about. Um, I mentioned that the years 2017 to 2019 were very rough for me, very rough for all of us that were fighting against NXIVM. And in 2019, I began the process of sort of getting, my hope back and getting my dreams back, and sort of post the trial, I was trying to sort of really get my creativity back. And there was somebody that helped me immensely with that. And I reached out to her. Her name's Diane Bell. She's a Sundance Award Winning Director. She's a screenwriter. She's a former yoga teacher. She teaches a lot of amazing stuff. I reached out to her and said, hey, I want to do a podcast episode with you and share with you my gratitude for how you helped me. And she was like, great, let's do it. So she had no idea what I was going to talk about. I got super emotional during this episode. I sort of really reflected back on how I felt in 2019. I'm in a very different place now, but how I felt, and let me just say the tears came fast. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Diane is an amazing, amazing entrepreneur, director, and somebody who really helps people with their dreams, helps them get what they want and what they need. So I hope you enjoy this amazing episode with Diane Bell. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
I of course, want to share with you why I so much wanted to talk to you. But before I do that, I would love, because my audience doesn't know you, I would love you just to share a little bit of your journey of how you got to where you are, because you're like a very cool person. You're a director, a screenwriter, a seminar leader, a coach. You're so many different things. But would you mind just giving the audience a little sense of who you are, where you came from? Also, by the way, Sundance Award Winning Director as well. Would you mind sharing that? And then
Sure.
I'm going to tell you
Sure.
why you're so important.
I'll try to keep it really brief. So
Yeah.
I think of my story as being, I'm Scottish originally, grew up all over the world though. And into my early 20s, I knew that I wanted to be an artist and a creative. I always wanted to be a writer more than anything, but I had zero confidence in myself. And all through my 20s and into my 30s, like I wanted to create so much, but there was so much fear and resistance and blockage around it. And so what that made me do was go on a very deep inner journey. Because in order for me to write the first screenplay that I really felt called to write, I had to battle all the demons of I'm not worthy, I can't do this, who am I to do this, I'm wasting my time. Even if I did this, don't know anyone, I couldn't do this, and all of that. And so it took me years to write my first screenplay because of the inner work that I had to do to make it possible. But when I made that shift inside, I sold my first screenplay within a year. Even though at that time I was a yoga teacher in Barcelona with no connections in America whatsoever. And things just went crazy almost immediately. I got hired for a dream job writing a screenplay and things just happened. But then I came up to that problem that a lot of screenwriters come to where nothing was getting made. And so that was the point at which I decided to make my own film. And it was the same journey of inner work and belief. And I raised $140,000, not a lot of money, but a lot of money to me. And I made my first film, and that film got selected for Sundance. And I feel like my whole life is about, discovering that everything that is holding me back is inside me. And that when I do that inner work to shift things and my beliefs about what is possible for me, my outer world shifts. And I feel now like my mission on this planet is to help other people make those shifts, to make those inner shifts so that they can live their dream lives, whatever that means to them. Because what is holding us back always is us. It's us and it's our beliefs. So now I've gone sort of like a full circle. I'm back living in Spain. I started my journey towards writing scripts and making films in Spain, and now I've moved back here. I love living here so much. It's my spiritual home. And my obsession is helping other people to live their dreams, to live their creative dreams, to break through what's holding them back and to live to their fullest potentials.
That was good. That was fast and short and amazing.
Okay, good.
And so I've actually been watching your journey going from the US back to, you're in Sitges now, right?
Sitges.
Sitges.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, Sitges, which is 30 minutes south of Barcelona.
Amazing. And it's funny. So in 2019, we moved to Portugal because we just desperately wanted to get out of the US. So let me talk a little bit about what's so moving to me about talking to you.
Mm.
So, my audience knows very well, left a cult, didn't realize it was a cult, woke up, the guy's evil. 2017, 2018, 2019, hell. Just hell. And I think one of the things that was so challenging was I lost hope.
Mm.
Like I thought, okay, so, I've been trying to make these films while still working with this organization, and it was a nightmare. Because there was, at the beginning, there was like all this love bombing. We're going to help you make your movies. We have all these resources. We have all this money. And I'm like, as with most filmmakers, you're like, okay, well, great. I'm in, let's do it. And, the first thing I wrote, the cult leader was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Everybody was like, oh my God, you're amazing. And then it was just like years of just breaking me down. So when I left, when I woke up, I had one mission only, because everything had fallen to shit. My only mission was put this guy behind bars. Like, that's my mission. And also I had the feeling of like, what about all these projects that I've been wanting to do, that I've been like, putting aside because they kept on saying to me, you have to do this internal work. You're not ready to do that film. You have to do this internal work, which, you could argue could be true, but there's also like, just fucking make shit.
Totally.
So 2019, I'm very broken, and I'm spending a lot of time, in New York, prepping for the trial. I'm working with the FBI like every day, and the prosecutors and everything. So there's no creativity going on whatsoever. But I decided like I have to do something, because creatively I'm feeling just dead inside.
Mm.
And so two things happened. The one was I found out about you, and I think it was Facebook.
Mm.
And then I saw that you'd written this book. Was it called Shoot from the Heart?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I began watching all your stuff on Facebook. I began doing some of your courses. I think one was how to make your movie. Another was, how to write your screenplay. Because at that point, like, I was just consumed with, cult takedown. And I also began going to there was a writing spot in LA, like on La Cienega, called Writer's Block. And it was basically like boot camp. You just went to write. You set your goal, you wrote, and then you reported on what you did. That was fine, but that wasn't enough for me, because I needed hope, and I had no hope. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna show up there, but I was just like, what am I doing? And so I began doing your courses. And the thing that was so incredible is that you were somebody that I could respect, because you're like, okay, you're a filmmaker, you understand the nuts and bolts, you're grounded in reality, but you also used to be a yoga teacher, you're clearly very spiritually connected. And so I couldn't listen to anybody who was airy-fairy, because it's like, I've had enough airy-fairy. Like, I've had enough bullshit. And so for me, you were the sort of marriage of these two important things in my life, which was spirituality was important, but I'd thrown it all out. And like the nuts and bolts of just getting shit done. So I began doing your courses.
Mm.
And I'm so emotional.
Oh.
It was something cracked inside of me. Like, I got hope for the first time in years. Because I realized, like, it's okay to dream. It's okay to dream, and it's okay to dream big, because the dreams have been so squashed. And so I just began writing and watching you and listening to you and writing and writing and writing. And something happened where I realized it's possible to dream again, because the dreams had been so poisoned. And so there came a point, and I was in 2019, if I wasn't with the FBI, I was just writing, writing my book, writing the screenplay. I got work for hire as well, just writing every day on numerous projects. And in the end of 2019, after the trial, I got your book, and my wife and I went to Australia to go see her, her parents. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go out in the middle, because what I was doing was I was writing and shooting time lapse, because time lapse is I don't know, it's my meditation.
Mm.
Go set the camera up, You look at the clouds, look at the sun, you think, this could be a good shot. And then you stand there for hours.
Mm.
And so one day I took your book with me, and I set the camera up, and I just, the shot rolled for probably 3 hours. And I just sat in the grass, reading your book and watching, like, the kangaroos go by and stuff like that. And then I thought, let me just take a picture of this, like just post this. And you actually responded to that picture. But I think the thing that we don't always know the impact that we have on people.
Mm.
But really, I want you to understand and know that the sense of hope that I got, that I thought was lost, I got in large part because I just listened to you and I watched your stuff, and your just constant belief in things being possible, no matter how hard. And I knew you'd been through your own shit. I knew you understood that this wasn't airy fairy easy bullshit. This was like, okay, life's hard, whatever. There's the goal. Fucking go for it anyway, because, like, on the way, who knows what's going to happen, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you really helped me out of a big fucking hole, because I thought I would never get that back again. And every day I would show up and I thought to myself, how is this woman so positive? What is going on? How does she just keep, like, not only going for herself, because I follow you on social media, and you're very honest about, like, the struggles you have. But, like, I thought, how is she able to do this? How is she able to show up and just keep on saying, there's the target, there's the goal. Yes, shit's hard. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, you have bad days. Yes, all that. Yes, and you can still, have a remarkable life. And what is amazing is, from that, I began working on, in 2020, I began working on a project, in 2021, another project. So currently I'm just about to finish a documentary, which I've been working on for a long time, which incorporates a lot of the hell that I've been through. And then another series that I'm working on as well. And then while I'm trying to get all these, nonfiction things done, I'm working on getting, certain scripts made and other ones written. So my life trajectory changed tremendously from the end of 2019, 2019 was the year I started really, like, studying with you, even though you may not have known that. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you, is just how incredibly grateful I am. I'm still very emotional for the way that you, whether you knew it or not, were able to pull me out of a hole that I never thought I would get out of again. I thought that was it. This, now everything's fucked. Turns out it wasn't fucked at all. And it turns out that the pain has helped me become a better artist in ways that I didn't even understand was possible. So that's what I wanted to share with you.
I am so grateful. I mean, you have no idea what it means to me to hear this, and actually I'm so grateful to you, because sometimes, as you know, with the internet and the social media, you're putting your message out and you're sharing and you're giving all the time, and you're like, is anyone even like, is this landing for anyone? You do have those moments. So I appreciate it so much, because yeah, it means everything to me. This is why we do it. This is why we create, is to connect human to human and to lift each other up. Because I really, like, one of my mottos, and you probably know, is together we rise, and I think, like, I go through shit so that I can then overcome it, so I can help other people who are going through that and lift them up, and they come through it, and then they can help other people lift other people up. And that's the whole idea of together we rise. Like,
yes,
let's all help each other. Let's all dream bigger. Let's all envisage a world which is beyond anything we've experienced before, and actually believe that it is possible, and then all, like, help each other and lift each other up to make it happen. I mean, that's the ultimate goal here. So it means everything to me to hear this. And there's so many things as you were talking that I was like, oh, I mean, this path of being an artist, it's not easy for, like, I believe for many of us. It's not easy. It requires so much courage. It requires so much faith. It requires so much, like, you're going to get hit. You're going to have hard times. some people may not have, I mean, we all have our unique brand of hard times. I don't think we need to compare people's hard times and say whose is worse. It's just like we're all going to have our own unique brands, and we're all going to have our moments where we do lose faith. I think it's part of the journey, you know? And a lot of people sadly do actually do give up in those times. I've seen it. I've seen artists who are immensely talented and had so much to give, but who reach some sort of setback or existential crisis about what they're doing, or, doubt, fear, and they never recover from it. They never get back on that horse. And if my life and my work is to help one person like get through that, that's it. That's my
Yeah.
work is done. And so
I have so many questions for you. Um, I think the first question I have is this obsession with helping people, where I don't know what it's like for you. I almost imagine it's like an itch, like you see somebody and you think, oh, they could have this or they could do this. I assume it's something like that. If that's the case, like what is it? Why are you like that? That you're so passionate about helping people?
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is that, in my 20s, I was in a really dark place for a very long time. And I remember like what helped me, I mean, what shifted it for me was discovering yoga and meditation. And I can remember my first meditation teacher, who was this amazing woman from Chile, Annie Mavarika. She'd been a nun in the Tibetan Buddhist circles for like 14 years or something, but she'd left that now. She'd spent 7 years in silence, which always blew my mind. Like I can't even fathom that.
Wow.
Like 1 week would be hard for me, right? Like 7 years. And she was just like this cool. She was like Yoda. She was very small. She still always shaped her head. She was like in her 70s at this point. But she was such a mentor to me. And I remember I was really struggling with so much. And she just said to me, Dan, I wish other people could see you. I wish you could see yourself as other people see you. Right. I wish I could give you that gift. And as I say, at this point, I was in a very dark place in my life. I had no faith in my own abilities. I was caught in cycles of binge drinking and no self-esteem and all this. And, over the years, like, I mean, I practiced, and that's the thing. I dedicated myself to meditation practice, to yoga, to the inner work. I mean, really deeply for many years. And that is what created the transformation for me. And now, like, I feel that about like just about everyone I see. I see everyone's potential. Like, I can see people in their power. And I just wish, like, if I could have a magic power, I just wish I could, like, let everybody see their own worth, in a second. And so that's what drives me. I want to lift everybody up. I want to see everybody live their potential, because I know that every human being on this planet is worthy.
Hmm.
And like what holds us back from reaching our potential is our own doubt in that. And I lived that. I lived that for, like I say, that was my life for over 10 years. And it was not an easy path to get out of it. So yeah.
How did you go from that place you were? How did you get out?
As I say, really, it was like discovering yoga and meditation. And I had some sort of impulse towards them. And I think this is that thing, we have these, our soul wants to grow, it wants to evolve, it wants to transform and heal, and it's getting called to certain things. So I was very called to meditation. I went to a lot of different meditation groups, but funnily, I often felt like they were a little cultish, at a certain point.
Hmm.
And I had a very strong radar for that, right? Like I was just like, oh no, suddenly they want me to change my name, or they want me to commit certain, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not into that. Just wasn't my jam. So when I discovered yoga, I went to this one yoga class, and I was suddenly like, also, this is amazing, because I went to this Ashtanga class, and it was so hard. I was physically like, I was the stiffest, like most unflexible human, and I think this was all part of like, my being at that time. Like I was bunched up like this. And it was so hard. Like it was so hard to be in that yoga class. Like, because I couldn't touch my toes. I mean, I was just like, oh, and I was sweating like crazy, and but I came out of that and I went, "That's it. Like, that's the path." Like, you didn't think about anything other than trying to breathe for a whole hour. That's pure meditation. And I was very blessed that very soon after that, the teacher from that said I could come in to practice with him in the morning, which seemed like such a massive offer. So I would go in the morning, and, like, that changed my life, because suddenly I had to get up in the morning. And after years of like living all night, it was like I'm getting up in the morning. And at the same time, I discovered the work of Thich Nhat Hanh. And
Mm,
if you don't know Thich Nhat Hanh, he was a Vietnamese Zen monk. And I read one of his, I was in a yoga magazine that I read something of him. I went to the bookstore, and that's how I met this woman that I was talking about, the Chilean woman who she used to go around all the bookstores. This was in Edinburgh in Scotland. She used to go around and write these little handwritten notes. If you want to meditate in this tradition, call this number. And she would stick them in all the books. And I called the number because I was like, I bought the book, The Miracle of Mindfulness. And I called the number. And when I started to go to her little meditation group, and there would usually be only like 5 or 6 people there every week. Uh, what I discovered though was like, oh, wow, this is a revelation because you're encouraged to actually go back to your own roots, to have your own religious beliefs. You don't have to change anything about you to come and practice this meditation. And that's where I was like, oh, I feel so good here. There's people with different religious beliefs. There's people with different, like everybody's doing their own thing, but we come together to practice meditation. And so that became a huge part of my life, being part of Thich Nhat Hanh's community for, over 15 years. Right.
beautiful.
Where I went to his, I went to his monasteries many times. I was lucky to be a direct pupil of his and, for many years. Yeah. So that was so I just felt, I felt those like your soul, as I say, it wants to be well. It like it has that calling. And when you find the thing that's like, okay, this is lighting, this feels good. Then not to say it was always easy, those paths for me to make those transformations, but like, I knew, like, there was something in me that knew, and even though it was hard, I was like, "I'm doing this," and that totally changed my life.
I'm just curious, was it because, my experience of rediscovering my spirituality, which happened probably about a year later, like so 2020, because I'd thrown everything out and I realized I knew nothing. And I had, these very strong things of like, I think Jesus was a psychopath, Buddha was a whatever, they're all assholes,
Mhm,
And honestly, it was just reading stuff and then staring at the ocean because we moved to the west coast of
mhm,
Portugal. And I sat at the ocean every day and I stared at the ocean and something happened, just this
mhm.
deep connection and then spaciousness.
Yeah,
And in the spaciousness, I was like, this is the feeling that I've loved my whole life as a child as well. That I then thought I had to find this in all kinds of other people and whatever. And here I was sitting utterly alone, sometimes with my wife, feeling this incredible spaciousness. And you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
the
Oh,
vastness and the paradoxical, everything's empty and everything's full kind of feeling.
mhm.
And then I felt peace for the first time in a long time. Um, is is that some of what happened when you went into meditation? Did you tap into something for yourself?
Definitely. I mean, in meditation, I mean, in yoga, when you're just breathing and it's like everything ceases to exist, but everything is at the same time, and you drop in and you just feel that absolute sense of peace and ease. Thich Nhat Hanh would say, like in our breath, we come home to ourselves, right? And I always felt like, it's on the yoga mat or on my meditation cushion that I come home to myself, and it's come home to the present moment. And that's where there's total peace. There's,
And I mean, you still practice yoga today, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I practice
Amazing.
like, I've seen in my life, I've been around long enough now to know there's periods where I've let it go, where it's sort of like, usually not for too long, but whenever I stop like having a regular practice of yoga or meditation, things start to turn to shit in my life. I start to make bad choices. Like I'm telling you, man, this is real, because the meditation and so is non-negotiable for me. Yoga, meditation every day. And that is what like keeps the channel open. It's what keeps it clear. It's what allows me to be connected to my higher self and to make good decisions, to have those intuitions, to be guided by that. The times in my life where it's like just somehow dropped away, I've got busy, like seem not so important, always culminates in me making a series of terrible choices. That just like, I don't know, like, what's happening? Why is my life not working? Why is everything hard? And then I'll think, okay, Dan, back to basics. You need to get back on the mat. You need to get back on the meditation cushion. It's a non-negotiable.
I totally
Yeah.
understand. I think I get because I do yoga probably like 3 times a week, but a lot of what I get
Yeah.
just walking in nature as well. I just tap in because I find I've been so distracted in much of my life, and my beginning, my film journey
Mm.
was as a technician, camera assistant, everything was about precision, and it just is go 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 go, working insane films until I got very frustrated. When I finally got to Hollywood, because I was a kid from South Africa. I finally got to Hollywood, and then I was just making shit,
Yeah.
and I was like, what am I doing? And in fact, um, Stephen Simon, who produced What Dreams May Come, um, he was running a course um, at UCLA called "Making Movies with a Metaphysical Vision,"
Mm.
and for some reason, I thought I have to take this course. And so I think it was a 6 weeks course I took with him, and from that, I came up with the thought of like making something to marry, film and spirituality, which
Mhm.
culminated in making What the Bleep. So
Mhm.
What the Bleep was my way to try to, unify those things.
Love that.
But I think I spent a lot of time, very, very disconnected. And I think it's only truly now that I've been through so much that I'm
Mm.
feeling like I can actually, those worlds can finally connect together. And that's something. So I wanted to ask you, hope is not yet easy to me,
Mm.
because there's being cynical is very, very easy, and everything's gone to shit is very easy, and especially now in the world, there's a lot of people are in a lot of emotional chaos, and they're feeling very disconnected from their own groundedness. And so for me, still, hope is an effort. Like, I have to talk to myself and say, look, the old pathway is to think this is not possible. Like, can we consider the possibility that it might be? Can we consider the possibility that your thinking is full of shit and it's cute and sweet? And I understand you're trying to protect yourself, but what if we don't try and protect ourselves in that way? All those conversations.
Mm.
Um, do you find hope comes easily to you now?
Yeah, I don't even, the word hope is not a word that I love. It's funny you use that word.
Mm, mm,
Because for me, it's not even hope. It's just like, I think choosing to plug into the outcomes that I desire and that I want, right? And I don't think I'm hoping for them. I think I'm like anchoring into them. It's a different
yes.
feeling for me, right? And I do really I do find now, like I've cultivated a foundational mindset for myself in which I naturally gravitate to cut glass half full, in which I naturally gravitate to the best outcome is always possible, in which my fundamental belief is that things are always getting better.
Mm,
And I know there's a lot of people who'll be like, "Are you out of your mind? Have you looked at what's happening on the news?" Right? And I just always go, "Yeah, but have you ever like read the history books?" You know, I come from Scotland. They used to burn women in the town square for being women. So don't tell me things haven't got better. They're getting better all the time. And right now we're obviously in a period of massive transition, but for me that's like actually kind of great because I'm not really attached to the idea that the past was all that fantastic. You know? I'm like, let's burn the patriarchy to the ground, Come on. Right? Let's like finally process colonialism. And this is obviously not easy for us to make these massive shifts on our planet from these systems and programs that have held us for so long. So it's troublesome and I can see why people are unanchored, but to me, like in every change, there's an opportunity. Like it's like, what do we want? What do we desire? What do we dream of? And that's why plugging into always the vision of what we desire seems to me to be so important because there's no question that we are co-creators of this world. We're co-creators of our own lives and we're co-creators of the bigger picture. And we all play our little part in that. And every single person who's like, spending most of their time focused on what's going wrong and what could go wrong and what is going wrong and why it's all going to shit, is contributing to creating that vision, right? And every single person, though, who can make that shift to say, but what if? Like, what if it is getting better? What if we could make this like really better? What if we quantum leap to really such a better world, right? Like, what if we can live our dreams? And my experience is we can. My experience is that when we actually really lock it in and believe it and trust our instincts and let ourselves be guided by our higher self and believe in ourselves and like just, and get in the vibe, like anything is possible. Anything is possible. And I believe that in an individual level and I believe that in a societal level, like I believe it in all the levels. But it starts with each of us doing that work. So I don't really like hope for me feels like, oh, I'm hoping that something might turn out.
Hmm.
But it's more powerful than that because it's like, no, I believe that it's that what we visualize is inevitable. It's gonna happen. So let's visualize good stuff.
Right. You're right. Hope does. Yeah. Hope can have that sort of tenuous, almost fearful,
Yeah.
potentially
Like, I
delusional
hope it
feeling
works
to it.
out. Whereas like I'm like, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not hoping. I'm not in a state of hope. I'm in a state of like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is it. This is the vision that we're connecting with.
And I think, one of the things I love about your work is, I was thinking about my 20s and 30s, and especially in my 20s, I was insanely confident, as many of us are.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm going to make a great movie by the age of 26. And I made a great movie by the age of 26. And I was like, I would just put the thing I wanted like out there. And I'd be like, every day I'm heading there, you know? Um, what I love about your approach, I mean, I remember one course you said, just pick a date and work towards that date. Don't be like, I'll see, maybe this will work. Just pick a date and go. And I love the practicality. So I wanted to ask you a little bit because I really want people to spend time with you, to do your courses, work with you. What is if you could sort of sum your philosophy of filmmaking and how to get shit done and how to get shit made?
Yes.
What is your sort of general philosophy about that?
My general philosophy is just like, just make it happen, right? Like, stop with the excuses, stop with all the stories of why it's so hard and why it's so difficult, and, just make it happen because there's nothing to stop you. Like, it's 2024 and there's really nothing to stop you. So, like, stop complaining, stop having excuses, and just do it if you want to make movies. And, my own experience is obviously like I sold a bunch of scripts, I was getting hired to write screenplays. The issue in that whole milieu often is that you don't control whether things get made ultimately or not, right? And as a screenwriter, it depends what your mission is. But for me, like I realized at a certain point I wanted actually to make a movie, for the movie to be on the screen, not just to be like selling it or making money from it. That was, that seemed exciting at first, but at a certain point you're like, actually there's a bigger thing, because when you see certain projects not getting made and it devastates you because you're like, that was a great script, that would have been such a good movie, and it's not being made. So one of my core messages is, if you really want to get your movie on the screen, like roll up your sleeves and make it happen yourself, right? And it is possible to do that. It's like, it's not impossible. Like, you can raise the money yourself, you can you can make it happen. And if you've got a real vision for a movie and you really want to do it, there's nothing to stop you. So it's like, learn it, do it. I made my first movie. I had never made a short. I'd never made a commercial. I'd never made a music video. I never made anything. I never made a
You
documentary.
hadn't?
No, when I directed my first movie,
Oh,
nothing. And that's why I go, like, people get so in their heads about like, I have to do this in order to do this. Like there's like all these different conventional steps I have to take. I have to work on someone else's set. I have to like make a short. I have to do. I'm like, my way in life is, what do you want? Like, really, that's the biggest, most important question you can ever ask yourself. What do you want? And now that's the thing you should be going after, right? That's the thing you should do. So I wanted to make a feature and I wanted to get it in Sundance. And that was my goal. And that was like just like it. And that's what I did. And there was lots of people who were like, "You're nuts. It's impossible. You're delusional. You'll never. You can't. You shouldn't. This is the way you should do it. That's the way you should do it. Blah blah blah." And I just tuned out all of the noise and followed my own instincts. And this is what I would advocate for anyone. And that's like really my core message.
And you proved it's possible because you did it. I mean, you won a number of awards for that film.
Correct.
I
Yes.
mean, that's incredible.
I know. I know. And it is like I'm just like, it's just proof, like people are like, "Oh, that's impossible." No, it's not. It's not. Because I did it. Right. And I literally went, and it is mind blowing. I went from 1 year, 1 January, just being like, I had a script, I had a dream, I had no idea how I was getting the money. And 1 year later, I was premiering that movie at Sundance, right? And winning awards for it in 1 year, and
So
it's like,
you were an established writer at that point, but you hadn't actually.
I don't know that I would say I was an established writer. I didn't have a manager or an agent, for instance. Like I just hustled, so I like, and things would just happen because, I was in the flow of things, right? So I'd sold that first script. I optioned the first script. I got hired by John McTiernan, director of Die Hard and Predator, to rewrite a movie.
Legend.
Yeah.
Legend.
So that was crazy. So I rewrote this movie with him, and he lived on this ranch in Wyoming. I would go to Wyoming and spend months there, right? And I rewrote this script with him. And then from that, I got hired to write a horror film. So it was like kind of random, but it was just like meeting people and people saying, "Oh, okay, well, you're doing this, great. Like, do you have an idea for how we would do this?" And so I just kept getting jobs. He hired me to write an original script with him. We spent a lot of time working on that. It was a historical, epic Western. But then he got arrested by the FBI, and this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about that's, like, so outside of your control. Here I was thinking, "All these movies are gonna get made, this can be so awesome," and, like, set up as a screenwriter, and then in the space of 1 week, it was like everything fell apart, you know? Like,
What was that like? And what was that like? And because you had a trajectory and then suddenly the rug pulled out.
well, like anything, I was down on my knees crying for about a week probably, just, like, devastated, and then, and this is that thing. One of my core beliefs now is that truly everything is happening for you, not to you. It's an idea from Tony Robbins, right? Love him or hate him. It's a true idea. It's a great idea. Once you embrace this as a core belief, it changes your life, right? Everything is happening for you, not to you. And sometimes in the moment you can't see it. One of my big goals right now is like how to speed up that process because sometimes it takes 10 years before you can see why something shit happened for you, not to you. Right? So my goal right now is like, how can I be able to see that in the moment, right? Like as it's happening, you know? But at that point, when those projects fell apart, it didn't take me too long to be like, okay, after the dust settled and I had cried for a week or something, I was like, I see now my goal is to get a movie made. Like I want to see my movie on the screen. And I also recognize that I'd actually been writing some movies that I didn't love. I'd taken jobs for money like the horror movie. I didn't love it. I did that for the money, right? And I was just like, "This is not what you're here on this planet to do. This is not it." And, at that point, I said, "You know what?" And this is why it's happening for you, right? I was like, "I wanna write something that's, like, from my heart, that's my thing, that is something like the movie that I wanna see, and then I'm gonna make it." And, it was that decision. Now in that sort of whole big picture, I've come to believe that the reason that I made the films I made wasn't even about making the films for me or making the films for people who watch the films, but so that I could help other people see what's possible for them. And it's funny, like like you're constantly being directed on your path. Everything that happens that seems like a negative is actually helping you towards your true journey, your true mission. I really believe that. When things don't work out, it's not like, "Oh no, how terrible." It's like, "Oh, I'm being redirected." It's not like this is terrible. It's like, this is not if those films I think about this, if those films had got made and I was a screenwriter and those films had got made, I would have stayed on that path of writing screenplays for money, many of which I didn't even love, that weren't really my passion, that weren't my thing. That was not my path in life.
There was something you got me thinking about something. Yeah, it was about things happening for you.
Mm,
And uh, it's also taken me a long time to understand why certain things may have been good. Like
mm,
the whole debate of, is there free will, is there not free will? I have no idea.
mm,
At certain levels of meditation, I have an experience of. there is no such thing as free will. It's a weird concept.
Mm,
Everything is as it is, and there is this massive trajectory of some kind.
mm,
But the pain that I mentioned before deepened me and broke through
mm,
a immense amount of spiritual bypassing that I'd been involved in my life a lot. And
mm,
that's another thing. I think the reason that I gravitated so much towards you, in the middle of my pain was because I looked at you and I said, this woman is not spiritually bypassing.
mm,
She's saying all these things are possible. She's talking about manifestation, but she's not like talking about a woo-woo manifestation. She's talking about like actually making shit happen. Um, and there is something so profound about these what seem like detours that make us so much deeper. Like I feel like my appreciation of the human condition, because what happened is my spiritual bypassing broke, and I was like, I am human.
mhm,
Like I am not anything other than human. I am like everybody else, like no better, no worse. And there was something so beautiful about that because suddenly my characters were being human.
mm,
Because I'm a huge like sci-fi fan, but I was writing stuff where my characters were like serving, cool plot lines
mm,
and not living and not being. And that really shifted. And that is, so just another thing, as I said, is the spiritual bypassing thing. Um, did you ever go through that phase?
of spiritual bypassing?
Yeah,
I'm not sure, really.
you may not have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because because I came from such a low place in the beginning of my story, like, I don't know. Yeah, I've always I feel like I'm always pretty rooted. This life, I mean, half of it is great, but half of it is terrible. And even as I'm saying, like, it happens for you, it doesn't mean that it's all good, or that, like, I don't want to make it seem like some sort of positive thing where it's like, yeah, I'm really glad that thing happened. There are some things that happen that are just freaking terrible, and there's not much goodness to be had out of them. But if we take the attitude that we are victims and it's just like, oh no, it's just terrible, we lose all our power. So it's like, how can I turn this thing around? What can I take from this? How can I? And I have this thing that everything that I've struggled with, everything that has been really hard for me, I realize really is my greatest gift.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you come to this perspective, I came to this first in yoga where, that thing where you can do certain positions really easily and you feel really proud of them because you're like, I'm really good at this, right? And you're like, I'm better than everybody else in this position. I can do this so well. And it feels so good. And you like that position and you look forward to doing that position every day, right? Because you're like, I get to do this and it's really good. It's really easy and I shine in this position. And then you have certain positions where you really struggle, where they're really hard. Sometimes it's like one side of your body versus the other. My left side is really easy to open up this way. My right side is like, so you hate your right side. You're like, my right side is shit. My left side is beautiful. But then I remember one day realizing, it's the hard ones that are the gifts because they're the ones that give us an opportunity to grow. They're the ones that really give us an opportunity to learn. When it's easy and it comes to us naturally, it's kind of like there's nothing more there for you. It's just what it is. But the hard things, that right hand side that's so stiff and closed, like that's the side that needs our love. And that's the side that needs this care. And that's the side that actually needs our gratitude because it's giving us something to work with. And I had this a lot when I was teaching yoga and practicing yoga because, you see some people who can just pop into all the positions naturally. They're dancers or something and they're not getting the yoga. They're not getting what it is. Whereas the people who are not flexible, they're getting it from day one, and they're getting it in these deep levels because they have to learn how to, like, surrender and breathe and focus and release their ego and, all the things. Like, they're getting all these beautiful, incredible lessons, whereas this person who's a dancer, yeah, they can do all the positions, but they're not getting it. But I see this in my own life with the things that have been my, quote unquote struggles. These are the gifts because these are the things that have taught me the big lessons, and that have really stretched me and expanded me and made me grow. And then they're the areas that I can really help other people. Because the things that come really naturally to me that I can shine at, that are easy, that are all those things, I don't really have much to offer on that. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how I do it. You just do it. It's just how it's just who I am, right? Like, whereas the things that have been like my struggles, those things, it's like, because you said about, oh, I gave you some hope. That's because I feel like a black belt at slaying not having not having hope or self-belief. Like I have been through that. I know those demons. I know the demons of not believing you're worthy, not believing it's worthwhile, not believing you're ever going to get it out there. Like I've lived that. And because I've come through that and slayed those and overcome them, I can help people with that.
Yeah. I love that you said that. I was listening to one of your recent podcasts, and you talked about how you got your dream
Mm.
regarding Spain,
Mm.
and how there was all this discomfort, and
Oh,
because I think you said you hadn't had a dream after that
yes.
so much,
Yes.
and I was thinking about the fear of dreaming as
Mm.
well, because you had a big dream, you got to Spain. Like I also, much of my life, I wanted to like live in Europe. you
Mm.
know Now my wife and I live in Europe, and we fucking love it. And I fly to LA when I need to, or I fly wherever in the world I have to go to shoot, but I absolutely love it. But I was thinking about this thing of where we're afraid to dream.
Mhm.
Then you said that you hadn't put a dream after Spain, which is such an interesting crisis, which I'd love you just to explain real quick. But also I want to talk about the fear of dreaming.
Yes. Oh, fear of dreaming is huge. It's huge. And it is like what keeps us capped. I mean, most people are conditioned very early on to only allow themselves to dream of things that are realistic, that are possible, that are, practical, all those kinds of things. I mean, I was totally brought up like that. My grandmother, who I totally loved, Isabel, she would always say to me, though, she was, working class Scottish woman. She was a cleaning lady, right? And, and she used to say to me, like, never want for too much in this life and you'll never be disappointed. Right? And she would say that all the time, like, one of the most important things then is just like, don't hope for too much and you'll never be disappointed. And the message there is like, disappointment, like, is the worst thing in the world. Like, that would be the worst if we were actually disappointed. If we went after something and didn't get it, that would be terrible. Right? Like, why is that so terrible? Then you're not any worse off than you were anyway. Like, we can't
Yes.
handle disappointment as adults. Come on, right? But
Isn't that interesting?
yeah, but I think, like, I mean, and so that was me, like, when I was young, like, I didn't dare to dream. There was no way. Like, who am I to have these dreams? I'd been taught too. It's like, if you want to, because I was always wanting to be a writer, and people said to me, well, you could be a librarian. You could work in a bookstore. No one said to me, like, you could be a writer, right? And so I think like that sort of thing, you start thinking like I've got to be realistic. I've got to be practical. Like there's no point in hoping for something that will never come true. There's no point in dreaming of something that I could never attain, because then I would have the double pain of like not attaining it plus having the disappointment. And that I could not hold. I could not carry it. And so this is why for me, like one of the most important things is we recognize that we are way stronger than we imagine, and we can hold difficult feelings. And that's why to me meditation practice is so important, because meditation is where we learn to sit with difficult feelings. There's no running away. There's no like scrolling through internet or like eating something or whatever. It's just like me on the cushion, sitting with my disappointment, sitting with my fear, sitting with my humiliation, sitting with my shame, like sitting with whatever it is, and just sitting with it and being like, okay, I can feel it. Like I can feel my anxiety, and I'm just gonna sit with my anxiety, right? And I don't have to run away with it. And now I realize I'm powerful enough to hold it. Like I am powerful enough to hold disappointment. And if I'm powerful enough to hold disappointment, then I'm safe to go after big dreams. Because the worst thing that happens if I go after a big dream is I don't attain it. And if I don't attain it, I can hold that. And if I can hold it, there's nothing to fear. You know?
It's what you're saying is so important, because I actually had this conversation with my wife last night,
Mm,
because I was saying to her, I recognize my dreams are big, but
mm,
they're not like massive.
yeah,
And why am I not going for massive? And we were talking about
yeah,
disappointment, and her perspective is more, she's like, fuck it. be disappointed. Who cares? Just
Yeah.
go for it, And I was like
Yeah.
so interested in how from big to massive, I'm afraid of that feeling.
Yeah.
And then I sat and thought, okay, well, what's so bad about that feeling? I've ever had that feeling before. And I'm like, yeah, many,
Yeah.
many times
Yeah.
I've had that feeling. Did it kill me? No.
Never.
So I'm so interested in the ways that we try to keep ourselves safe.
Mm.
It's almost like we want to be in the womb,
Mm.
and not take the risks. And yet, when I have taken the risks, the rewards are astounding.
Mhm.
you know
Mhm.
so I suppose in your work you're navigating some of that with the people you work with, I assume,
Absolutely.
wanting to hold on.
Absolutely. And also there's the conscious brain that wants to hold on, but we also have our subconscious, which is 95% of our brain. And that will never cease to amaze me. 95%, like 5% is the conscious part. That blows my mind, right? And so when we get into that, your subconscious brain is just wired to keep you safe, nothing more. Survival is its jam, right? And how's it going to survive? By doing what you always did, right? Not by doing anything new. And so I work with a lot of people who are in that struggle. They've got maybe over the point of saying, okay, I dare to dream. I want this, right? I do want to write a screenplay. I do want to make a film. But now they're facing this thing where it's like, I want to do it, but somehow, like, I'm not doing it. Somehow I'm procrastinating or I'm self-sabotaging in some ways, or I'm being overly perfectionist, or, all these different things that come up for people. And they're like, I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm not doing the thing. Right. And, it's the subconscious. It's quite simple. Spoiler alert.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
It's the subconscious. It's your subconscious brain going, oh, hell no. And that was for me, like writing my first screenplay when I finally decided that I was going to do it. I was like, I'm going to write this screenplay. And, I was probably like, I was 30 years old and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. Right. And I'd been thinking about this one screenplay for like 3 years by that point. Right. But I was like, okay, I'm going to actually write it. But, it was that thing, like, even though I wanted to, I just couldn't. And it wasn't that I didn't know how, but I was just like, I wouldn't be able to sit down at the desk. It was that like weeks would go by and I wouldn't have worked on it. And it's because your identity is not aligned with what you're trying to do. Like your subconscious beliefs are not in alignment with what you're trying to, like, if it's something you've never done before, almost guaranteed your subconscious is going to put up a little bit of a fight. It's gonna be like, "Ah, hell no. No, 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 no. Not safe, not good, dangerous, you could die."
yes,
You know?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's like overcoming that, it's like really understanding that there's like deep programming for most of us, especially around being an artist, being a creative. Deep programming that's not safe for your voice to be heard. Deep programming that if you do make art, you're gonna starve and you're never gonna make any money, right? That like, that only 1% of people make a living and you're not gonna be one of them. There's like deep programming around all this stuff. And for most of us, that will stop us from achieving it, from doing it. And it's like and that's why I'm like the inner work, because I know that what shifted for me and what it took to write my first screenplay and then to sell it wasn't like learning how to do the thing. It was really about that shifting my inner beliefs about who I was, what I was capable of, what it was safe for me to do. And that's what unlocks your dreams.
So another thing I wanted to ask you is I've noticed something about myself. There are times when I'm pursuing a goal or a dream and I'm joyful about it. I'm recognizing that I'm part of a flow of something that's bigger than I understand.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
That's one kind of thing, which is fun. It's like there's mystery. There's like, I know what I want. I have no idea how to get there. It's almost like sometimes, when you're sitting with a screenplay, maybe you don't have this, I have this, and you're like, I have no fucking idea how to solve this issue
Mm.
that I'm seeing here. Like, I don't know how to solve it. But there's this weird thing that happens when I feel that I get excited
Mhm.
because I feel like I've run out of this identity currently. Saying these words has run out of solutions because
Mm.
I always sense the solutions coming that's bigger than me. So
Mm.
there's that excitement of like pursuing goals. But then there's this other way that I sometimes do it, which is just muscle through.
Mm.
It's a very suppose a very male kind of head down, fuck it, just fucking go kind of Mustang, and I hate it, and it's horrible. And I find myself sometimes pursuing things like that, and I go like, I hate this. I'm supposed to be enjoying this journey. Does that make sense to you at
Yeah,
all?
absolutely. And to be honest, I think that's like, I think it's normal, and I think sometimes we do have to muscle through a little bit, like, it'd be nice if it was always just like I lean back and everything comes to me. But I think occasionally we do have to like just muscle through a little bit if we really want to
Yeah,
get
maybe
there.
it's a good to have that balance.
Yeah, but it's obviously a balance, and obviously we'd prefer more to be in the other, and knowing that that is available to us, it's like, okay, how do I create the circumstances so that that's
Yes, yes.
where I am?
I have sort of two more questions for you.
Yeah.
The one is, you talk about manifestation,
Mm,
and I have used that word in my life so much. I currently, because of all my different woundings and things, I don't like that word so much anymore. And I know some people have reactions to the word manifestation, like it's a woo-woo, unrealistic
mm,
thing.
mm.
How do you think of manifestation?
So for me, it's quite simply like manifesting is taking something from the idea realm into the physical world. That's it, right? So something that we imagine, making it real in the physical 3D world. To me, that's what manifestation is. So
That's very simple.
yeah, it's not massively woo. It's just like, it's really just how we shift something from one type of thing, which is an idea, a mental state, into an actual physical reality state.
Right. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Yeah, just
Well,
execute, just getting it out of there to there.
yes, exactly. And so it's like whatever we visualize, whatever we imagine, whatever we dream, we can make real on the physical plane, right? So it's like that's the first thing. As I said, I think the most important question in life is what do you want, right? Like what do you like? Know what you actually really want. Once you know what you want, it's like your job is to lock into that, and then and then I see it as like a process of manifesting it, of making it your reality, of bringing it into reality.
Yes. Somebody once said to me, your job is to figure out what you want, not how,
Yeah.
because you probably don't know how.
You'll never know how for the really big things. Like if it's a big dream or a big goal, you'll never know how it's gonna happen. So you don't have to worry that you don't know how. If you're like, I want this, but I don't know how. It's like, it doesn't matter. You'll figure it out. Like the one, for me, it's always like aligned action, one step at a time. What do I feel guided to do now? Like what's the step today? Like
Yes.
that step.
Um, if you're willing to share, what are your dreams at the moment?
My
You're
dream.
you big dreamer?
Yeah, I'm always a big dreamer. I have a bunch of big dreams. So right now, one of my big dreams is like I've said, my mission is to help 1 million people shed their conditioning and live their dream lives, And that's sort of been like my big dream, like my big vision dream. Like, how do I help like more people to just like drop their own BS and really get into like their flow so that they can create magic in their lives. And that's like the big dream. And the way that right now I feel really inspired to do that is through my group, The Network, which is this membership for filmmakers and screenwriters. And I'm just really enjoying working with people in there. And I'm seeing people have like massive successes and like big transformations happening, people coming in and, I guess because I've been doing it now with them, there's certain people in there that I've been working with for like 2 years now. And so I've seen them like, that journey of 2 years ago, just wanting to write a script, and now they're in post production on their movie, and it just makes me so happy and seeing the real transformations because it's not just about the things that we do. It's not just about, like, I always have this about going after our big dreams. We think it's about getting to that thing. It's not. Like, I think it's just not, right? Like, it's actually that's incidental in a sense. It's who we become on this journey. It really, really is, right? And it's like all this cliche, right? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? It's like, it sounds like such a cliche, but it's like, it is the truth. And just like working with people in the network and seeing those genuine transformations where, people come in, yeah, wanting to raise money for their script or option their script, and they do that, but it's who they become on that. And I see them becoming like more empowered. And I see that like as a result of that, and they say this, like my relationships are better, my level of happiness is better, my life feels better, right? And it's not just, oh, I optioned my script to this TV company, which is great in itself, but it's like that whole thing, and I mean, my big dream is, yeah, just like having a bigger impact with what I'm doing.
Mm. Is there a particular film you would love to make, and so what kind of film would that be?
It's really funny. I haven't felt the calling to make a film for a while, which is kind of interesting, and it's kind of weird. I'm writing a book at the moment, which is sort of like, a book about intentional manifestation, right? And so that's one thing. I don't know. Like, I am somebody, as you probably know, that I'm really guided by my own instincts and by, my heart. Like, I've never been my whole life, I've never been like a conventional following the rules or following ordinary trajectories. I just trust, like, I don't seem capable to live any other way in a certain level. Like, I just follow what feels true for me at any point. And for right now, there's no particular films. It's like sometimes little inklings, of something, like there might be the beginning of something being birthed, but I couldn't really speak of it in a detailed way. And I have a feeling that if I was gonna make, like, the next thing might be something, I'm really interested in spaces and films of, like, breaking down boundaries between narrative and documentary. Like, that's something that really kind of fascinates me, and there might be something that I'll feel called to do in that area. But we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny you say that, the last thing you said, because I'm constantly interested in how to use film to break through to deeper places for people.
yeah.
Because the thing is, I look at, and I'm sure you know this. I sometimes will work with people, and they'll say, "Well, this thing needs to happen at page 10." I go, "Why?"
Mm,
Well, it's because that's the way it is. I go, "Why?"
mm,
And I know the rules.
I know.
I know the rules, but I'm like, but everybody is behaving the same way. What if we change something
Yeah,
in the way we tell stories?
yeah.
Like, one of the things that is really very popular now in television, for instance, is, writing stuff where you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Mhm.
And it takes you an entire season to figure out a
Mm,
tenth of the problem. And then season two is going to be and people are used to now not knowing.
mhm,
And that's something that really that happened over the last, maybe 15 years. It's very commonplace. You don't
mhm.
have to wrap everything up. You don't have to answer
Absolutely.
everything. And I keep thinking about, like, can we create things that fundamentally shift the way people
Yes.
are?
I mean, this is for me, this is it. Like, if I was gonna make another film, I'm not really interested in just making another, like, I don't know, by the numbers narrative type movie. It doesn't interest me at all at this point. And it's really, the question is, because I just have this thing all the time that our movies, like, they help create our reality. And the stories that we tell really do matter. They are co-creating our world. They have immense power. And it's like, what is a new way of telling stories? And what stories do we want to tell? Like, what are the stories that need to be told in order for us to start to create something different? And I agree, like, I'm so interested in that. Like, how do we change people's thinking? I think What the Bleep had an amazing impact on that sort of front,
I That's what we were trying to do.
you
I mean,
know?
I was
Yeah,
fed up. I was fed up with Hollywood. I was like, I have to make something
yeah.
that pushes,
I think that film really did, and it's that thing, like, how do you, that's what's interesting to me. If I was gonna return to filmmaking, it's like, you know, that's where definitely my interest lies. Like, it's like, how do we like take another step,
Yeah.
and actually just raise the bar, not just on the actual, I don't know, the story, like everything, so
Yes. No, no.
we need something new.
I feel what you're saying. I think that that's a conversation you and I can have in the future and continue
I would love that.
having. And just, there are other people that I've met in Hollywood as well, who are having the same feeling and are trying to figure out,
Mm.
how do you do that? How do you transcend? And I think some of the work of, my God, it's embarrassing. I'm about to forget the Canadian filmmaker who made The Arrival, who made Dune,
Oh, yeah. Who made Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of his stuff that I'm watching, I'm like, this guy is
He's a great
breaking through certain
he's a
things.
great filmmaker. Did you see his movie On Sendies? Did you see that one? I think that was like one of the so
I
good.
didn't.
Oh, so good,
I
so
should see
powerful.
that.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, there's something about this guy and his perception and his internal world that is producing things that are transcending.
Mm. And
Um,
he's a great filmmaker.
oh,
Yeah.
Denise Villeneuve, that's right. I'm so embarrassed. I almost
No,
forgot.
no, 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 no. I
Thank
always like
God you remembered. So, I want to sort of finish off with I've expressed to you, how much I appreciate, you and what you're doing, but could you just tell people like all the things you're doing, where they can find you, the different programs you're running?
Sure. Yeah,
You
so
mentioned the network as one.
the network is one. It's like that's my sort of like core focus at the moment, which is it's a membership for screenwriters and filmmakers, and it is it's coaching with me. I do 4 calls a month with people in there, and they get the chance to ask questions and be supported directly from me, and then they also have community meetings, where they meet each other and people read each other's scripts and maybe they'll go work in each other's movies and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so it's a super supportive network of filmmakers and screenwriters. There's also a whole load of my courses in there, because I decided like rather than always selling them individually, here's this and here's that. When you join the network, you have access to so many different courses like revise your screenplay, sell your screenplay, the directing masterclass. That's one of my personal favorites. Make your movie boot camp, like so many different things. So there's the network. You can always find me on Instagram. And Instagram's probably like my favorite. I love Instagram. Instagram's fun for me. So I have 2 Instagram accounts, but the main one, for filmmaking, screenwriting, it's Shoot from the Heart one, right? And that's also my book is called Shoot from the Heart. So if you want to make a movie, it's called Shoot from the Heart, and you can find and that's my Instagram account, Shoot from the Heart one. But I also have an Instagram account called Aim from the Heart one. Um, yeah, and Aim from the Heart is the more, like, personal, more woo-woo, more manifestation, more life in Spain, that kind of thing, which it's funny because for a while, like, I had my one main Instagram account, and it started to be a bit splinter, like, sometimes I was talking about this, and sometimes that, and this and that, and I felt like, "This is getting way too confusing." So I just split it up, so it's like, if you're interested in screenwriting, filmmaking, come to @Shoot from the Heart 1. If you're not interested in that, but you wanna hang out and, see life in Spain and manifesting big dreams, come to @Aim from the Heart 1, you know? So it's like 2 different sides to
Is
me.
there a main website? Is it still Diane Bell?
DianeBell.com. Yeah,
Yeah,
DianeBell.com, you can always go there and find out, like,
beautiful.
the main stuff. Yeah.
Beautiful. And
And
I'm so thrilled for you that you got your dream of moving to Europe,
I know.
back to
We
Europe.
talked about this idea of the dream beyond the dream. So just very quickly on that, and I will touch on this because I think it is such an important thing to know. But when I moved it like, for 3 years, my whole thing was, like, move to Spain, and it seemed so unlikely and so impossible and improbable in all the ways, right? And, I had it though, I had it on my screensaver on my phone, like this picture of the Mediterranean, and I had it, everywhere around my house, and it was just like, "Move to Spain." That was my driving force. And then we did it. We moved here and we bought our dream. I mean, the house that we bought is like, I'm sitting here right now looking at the Mediterranean as I'm talking to you, right?
Amazing.
I know. It's like it makes no sense. This is that thing, Mark, where like life can make no like how did this happen? I can't like even we've made it happen. I still can't tell you how we made it happen, but somehow it all happened. Like all the magic that happened in order for this to happen. But what happened when I got here was it was like, woof, like what now? And I think my soul literally thought we had died because it was like everything that we'd been focused on, like chasing after, trying to achieve, is like now it's here, And it's like, and now what? And it was like really disorientating and really, I guess it's like postnatal depression. I've had 2 children. I luckily never had postnatal depression, but I think it would be a similar, like I really felt like that. It's like you've manifested this incredible dream and now you just feel like wiped out and kind of depressed. And I'm like, what? And then you're like, what's wrong with me? I've just made my dream come true. Why am I feeling like miserable? And I really thought that, I feel so much like our lives are about growth and evolution. And always having those dreams and those goals is such an important thing. Like that's the drive in our life, And if there's not that, it's sort of like, ugh, you know? So I realized that for all of us, and I think this is that thing, there's a couple of different aspects to this, but having a dream beyond your dream is super important. So whatever your dream is, like think, okay, and if that was true, then what? Like plan it before. So you don't suddenly, because I really had not thought about that moving Spain. Like it was just sort of like moving Spain, moving Spain, moving Spain. And I was like, oh, and it took me like a year. That's ridiculous. But it took me like at least a year before I started to like actually catch my breath. And then I realized, okay, the dream beyond the dream, it's about helping others. It's like, it's absolutely that next step. And this is it.
Oh my
But
God, that makes so much sense what you just said.
have your dream beyond your dream. And do also, I think also like 10xing your dream is big. It was like, why would I think this is the end of the road too? Like, this is amazing. But actually, what would be amazing too would be to have a house here or to have this as well or to have that or, whatever it is. Having dreams is important because it does drive us. When there is no dream, there's nothing to get up for in the morning. We have no purpose. I was just sharing a session with some people about like purpose, right? We've got to have purpose in life. And it's like, have your purpose, 10x your purpose, go for it and live your life like it is purposeful, like it is meaningful. And it is because we choose it to be. But keep having more dreams. That was that one. Yeah.
You're like the dream maker, dream factory.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
The
And
dream whisperer. You're like the dream whisperer.
I love that. I love that. I'm gonna use that. I love that name because that's what I'm all about. I just want everyone in the world to have their dreams. I just go, imagine if everybody in this world like, actually woke up every morning believing their dream was possible. Like being daring to dream and like living like their dream was possible. Imagine how beautiful our world would be.
Yes.
Like truly. Like,
I think about that a lot.
okay, I do
I think
too.
about that.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled that you have a massive dream catcher behind you as well. It's very
Yeah. Yeah.
that's spot on.
Yeah.
One other thing, your podcast. How can people find your
Oh,
podcast?
yeah. So my podcast now is Aim from the Heart, and they can hear it wherever they listen to podcasts. And it's interesting. If you're a screenwriter, filmmaker, and you're looking for screenwriting, filmmaking advice, I had a podcast called Shoot from the Heart, which is still available, right? Which is still, and there's so many episodes of that podcast that are so helpful. Like all kinds of like from nitty gritty technical things of writing scripts and making films to actually the mindset stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of episodes. So there's over 100 episodes of that. Right now, though, that one's on pause. It's on hiatus. But the Aim from the Heart is where I'm like sharing right now weekly. And that's really about creating your dream life. And it's its own journey.
And I love it. You're very honest, you're very open, you're very vulnerable, you're very just you.
Yeah.
And it's like listening to a friend, you know? It's fantastic. I
Thank you.
love it.
My goal totally is like, it's funny. We're living in this AI moment, and as a small business owner, like I'm sure you think, okay, how much do I use the AI? And, how am I, and everyone's like, use AI to like 10x your business. Right. And, I just feel though so clearly that like what I do is all about human to human contact, and the more human that I am and the more willing that I am to be me and to be real and to be honest and open and truthful, the more I'm serving my purpose, because that's how we connect with other people. And for a moment, I was like, okay, maybe I should use AI to write Instagram posts. And I'm like, oh, to heck with this. Like, it's people
No.
to people, it's got
Yeah.
to
I
be,
love reading your words. I love the way you think.
yeah, it's got to be human to human, always, always, like that's what this is about. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Diane Bell, the dream whisperer.
Oh my
Thank you
God.
so much for your time.
Thank
I
you so
really,
much.
really appreciate it.
I've loved talking with you, and I'm so happy to connect with you in person. And I hope this is the first of many conversations we'll have together.
There will be more.
There will be
There will
more.
be more.
Love it. Thank you.